So on the Grand National this year, I made just short of £3,000 by actively trading it. And you may think that that is the biggest race that I'm going to have this year. But the interesting thing is it probably won't be, because over the next couple of months we have some absolutely fantastic opportunities. It's very likely that one of those will yield a profit much bigger than this. And the great thing about this is that it's a strategy that's easy to understand and that you can do too. So the first thing that I do before I start any trading session is I fire up BetAngel's Guardian tool and I load all of the markets into Guardian. And what I'm doing is I'm going down each one of those lines, just having a look at the type of market that is coming up. I'm looking at what the type of race is, how much money's been matched on it, where most of the betting interest is. And I'm also looking at the race type, because the race type will allow you to get a handle on what you're likely to see within a market. It requires a little bit of qualification, but when you look at certain types of races, they will give you certain types of characteristics that will appear within the trading market. Now, I have done a video talking about individual aspects of this, but on this particular video, we're very interested in one type of race, and that is related to the time of year. So when we look at professional sport, everybody has a very clearly defined path, and that is governed by age. When you're 17, 18, if you're a football or tennis player, you're likely to turn pro. By the time you reach about 25, you'll reach physical maturity. And when you're in your early 30s, your physical ability relative to the rest of the people you're competing with begins to go into decline, and therefore you think about retirement. Now, when we look at horse racing has a sort of similar path, but obviously different metrics. For example, when a horse is 2 years old, it can race on the flat racing. And when it's 3-year-old, it can race over jumps. But when we look at the career life cycle of a flat horse, it's probably only going to race until 4 or 6 years old, depending upon how successful it is. And when we look at jumps racing, they could race until they're 10 or 12. There's no upper limit, but things that determine whether they continue to race or not is whether they're competitive or not. But also if they're super stars within their particular class, then they may head off to early retirement and stud for the rest of their life. However, this sort of little life cycle does present opportunities for us, especially at this time of year. So as we start the flat turf racing season, one of the things that you'll notice that will happen is that you'll get a lot of 2-year-olds coming out to race for the first time. And when a horse races for the first time, it has to go into a maiden. And a maiden is a race where none of the horses have won. Now, obviously, if you've never raced before, you haven't won before, and that's why you're going into a maiden. But it's important to note that you can actually race in a maiden, even if you have raced before, because a maiden is defined as a race where nobody has won. So it's possible that you could have run before, but you're in a maiden simply because you're not particularly very good. So it's important to draw that definition between the two. We'll have a look at this in a second. But you may also find that there are unraced horses within a novice category as well. So novices and maidens are races where none of the horses have won a race before, but it's possible to split them further in between maidens that contain horses that have raced before but just didn't win their race, and maidens where you actually get 2 or 3-year-olds that have never seen a race course before. So let's have a quick look at a race card and understand exactly what we're looking at and how you can actually spot some of these types of races. So I'm looking here on the At the Races website, and I've gone to the race cards section. So we can see here Foss Lasses over the jumps, and we can see we've got a maiden hurdle, we've got a handicap and so on. If we look at Beverley, we can see we've got a novice race here, handicap, handicap, novice. And if we look at Cheltenham, you can see we've got a novice race, handicap, 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 and so on. And then we go down to Newmarket, you can see we've got a maiden stakes here. Then we've got some group racing, which will be the highest quality that we see today. And we've got Garan Park on there as well, and which shows a few maiden races within that particular card as well. So you can see immediately where the maiden races are, but how do we identify which one of these races is actually of interest to us? In other words, includes unraced horses. Well, there are several ways of doing that. The first way we're going to do is we're going to actually have a look inside some of these race cards But I've also got a little trick for you if you want to identify this a little bit quicker. But it is helpful to understand the race cards and browse them occasionally just to get more information on the race that you're looking at. But yeah, let's have a quick look at some of the race cards. So I'm looking at the Racing Post website here to give you a contrast and to allow you to understand race cards a little bit better. But we can see we're looking at a handicap race here. It's a class 4, so horses will be ranked according to their ability and then can qualify to run in certain types of handicaps. And this handicap is for 3-year-olds with a rating of 0 to 85. If we look at each of these individual horses, you can see the form here. And this is obviously how they have got their rating. The little hyphen that you can see here indicates that it hasn't run this season, and we can see on present times it's 3 years old, carrying 9 stone 9, has an official rating of 84, and Racing Post have their own rating over here. So you can see the weights change according to the horse's ability and the chance that they think it's got of winning the race, which will be related to its rating, because in a handicap all the horses should be equally weighted to give them an equal chance of winning that particular race. Now if we go to the 115, you can see that this is a novice race, and it's a class 4 for 2-year-olds. So we can see that these are horses that have just perhaps come out on the course for the very first time. But a novice race can include horses that have run before. And if we look down the form, we can see that Military Code is not raced, Moonfall is not raced, This Guy is not raced, Exclamation has raced and finished 3rd. So there's only one horse in this entire race that has actually raced before. So yeah, you can see how a novice race can include horses that have raced before, but it also can include unraced horses, which is very likely if they're 2 years old. You can also see that none of these horses have an official rating. That means they haven't run enough races for the handicapper to give them a rating, and therefore they will not be eligible to run in handicaps. So novice races, maidens, are likely to include horses that have no form, unless it's a race for maidens just simply because they have run but not been able to win a race. But when you read the race cards, all of this sort of information becomes obvious and clear. So when you start up BetAngel, this is the sort of screen that you would likely see. And it's very easy to modify to include information that's relevant to what we're talking about here. And you would do that via the column chooser. This is the icon that you would use in order to do that. And if you click on that, you can choose which columns are displayed on the one-click screen. And this includes custom columns as well. So if I click on custom columns, which is this bit over here, we can actually create columns to do and display exactly what we wish. So you can see here I've created a custom column called DSLR, which is basically days since last run. This will display information relating to when the horse was last racing. And what I've also done is, if we look at the middle of the screen here, you can see that we've got the current display. You can create as many different displays as you wish. And here's one I prepared earlier. And you can see on here, we've included the form, the day since last run, and the current age. So you can have all of that information available for you, immediately available on the one-click screen. So we've just added some information to the one-click screen. It's possible to do that on the ladder as well. If we just go to the ladder tab, we've got ladder settings just here, and there are tons of options for you to change and modify the way the ladder behaves. And in here we have additional information. So if I show this area, you can see we've got it set up to do some information about horse racing that's pulled in via TPD. You can see that that information gets displayed there if applicable. But of course, this is generated in a similar manner to the way that we did on the one-click screen. So if we wanted to add an item in here, we could actually go and add preset information, and we could actually add something like the runner's age, for example. And you can see that that appears on the ladder. And if we want to move that to a different row, we could actually do that, put it on its own row, merge it in with something else within here. But you can see that there are lots of options in terms of how we can move that information around and how we can display it. So that's how you do that on the ladder. So we've talked a lot about the individual races themselves, and you're sort of thinking, why are we doing that? Well, it's because if you understand the nature of the race, it will give you a good feel for how the market is likely to trade. And if you wind yourself forward to the end of the flat season, you get a race like the Cambridgeshire. It's a very big prize money competitive handicap. And these horses would have run many times over the course of the season in order to qualify for this particular race. And as a consequence, the market will be able to accurately discount the form lines of each of these individual horses and come up with reasonably good estimates, especially in a handicap, of what the price should be. And the market will therefore be generally range bound. Things could change that, such as the form of a trainer or a jockey, or perhaps, the rain arrives a few hours before the racing starts or something like that. But generally speaking, the market will know what the real price should be. Compare that to the start of the flat turf season, where a lot of 2 and 3 year olds have never raced before. They've never been on a race course on a competitive day, and you just don't know how they're going to run. There's no specific way of definitely identifying what the price of that horse should be. And it's all about emotion and opinion. People will put money down for it. And if people put money down for a particular horse, then people will say, oh, somebody knows something. And so they will put money down. And the opposite can happen as well. If nobody's backing a horse and the price starts to drift, everybody will go, well, somebody must know something. And therefore they won't back it. So you get very big, long moves within these markets. Now, people will try and guess what the price should be by looking at the breeding of the horse and how its parents did over similar distances. So there's a little bit of guesswork there that will get them roughly in that area. But the activity on the day is what really drives the price significantly. And therefore, these markets are some of the most volatile. They have some of the biggest price moves that you're likely to see. If you see a maiden or a novice with unraced horses and the price is at about evens, those markets will move fairly significantly, in complete contrast to something like the Cambridgeshire at the end of the season. However, there is one thing that happens on these races that anybody can do, anybody can take advantage of, that presents some of the best opportunities that you will see throughout the year. So this particular trade is one where it's almost impossible to capture a video of it in action, because the problem that you have is you don't know when it's going to occur. You know it will occur at some point, you just can't predict exactly when it's going to happen. And the reason that we can't do that is that we're looking at novices or maidens that haven't raced before, and we're looking specifically at their behaviour at the racecourse. So as soon as one of these races comes round on the schedule, I'm looking very closely at the parade ring. I'm looking very closely at when they go to post, even if they do go to post, because some of them may refuse to go. And then I'm looking at the behaviour when they're getting loaded into the stalls, or as these horses will see them, giant, great big metal objects that I'm about to get trapped in. So yeah, this is why we're targeting these particular races, because these horses haven't seen a race course before, not in a competitive context with crowds and lots of other horses and so on. And we're assessing whether that's going to influence their price, because obviously if a horse, bolts to post and chucks the jockey, then that's definitely going to be a negative. But it's important to note as well that when we're talking about horses that are bolting to the post, that you find a race course that has an enclosed track. Because, for example, if a young maiden chucks its jockey and then starts racing off into the Newmarket countryside, you may never see it again, because it's an open course. So it could just go on running for ages and ages until it is caught. However, at other race courses, they will have chutes that will capture the horse, or it may be that because it's a tightly enclosed course, Freudian slip there, it may actually just run straight to the start. However, that will still be a negative, because it's obviously used up a lot of energy without the control of the jockey, and therefore its price will drift significantly. And all that you're looking to do when you see these sort of behaviours is to start getting in on the lay side. There's no magic science with it. You're looking for horses to misbehave. You start laying them. If they start bolting to the post or anything like that, then you want to lay them a little bit heavier, and that you're basing your whole trade upon that. And then when things begin to calm down, you just exit your trade. And naturally, because people will be refusing to back these horses, the odds will be at a much higher level. It really is that simple. So yeah, that's what we're primarily looking for. We're looking for certain types of races, certain types of horses within those races, and then we're watching them like a hawk, and we're going to jump on that lay button if we see any particular problems. So yeah, hopefully you understand why I was talking you through the cards a bit earlier, because that's the sort of core of the strategy, really. That's the most important thing, is identifying these races and looking at those particular runners. And, if you see a maiden or a novice race with an unraced horse that's priced at around 2s, that is probably going to present a huge opportunity for you, because the market will be moving significantly. And if the horse doesn't behave itself, then that price is going to absolutely skyrocket out. And I pretty much guarantee that that is going to happen over the next month to 2 months. That opportunity will present itself to me. I can't tell you what race that will be on specifically, but I can tell you the type of race and the sort of thing that you're looking for. And, so when you're looking at the cards, even if you don't get the chance to look at them all of the time, maybe it's just on a Saturday or something, go through them, try and identify these races. And when they appear, watch them like a hawk. If you have total performance data technology plugged into BetAngel, you can actually get a good look at the parade ring and other activity, even though you can't see it on the TV. So that's a significant help as well. So yeah, it's a really simple trade to do, but this is the sort of trade that's going to yield me a bigger result than I got on the Grand National.